Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Don't let COVID-19 spoil the fun for you or your family, so get a vaccine or booster. COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, free for everyone, and are now available for anyone over the age of 5. Booster shots are also recommended for everyone 12 and older if it's been more than 5 months since your previous vaccination. To get more tips, schedule your vaccine, or get tested, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. That's ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Overnight clouds give way to clear skies with a low of 51. Clouds move back in on Thursday with a high of 74. Crooners is back after an exciting renovation featuring a new dining room, the brand new Maggie's Lounge, and expanded main stage seating. That's Crooner Supper Club, just north of 694 off Highway 65 in Fridley. More at croonersmn.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Cody Cup, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunja Hade. Ho Trunk Raja Wakunja Hade Hinga Dana. I just said my name is Distant Thunder, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Native Roots Trading Post, located at 700 Nicollet Mall in downtown Minneapolis. We're on the first floor of the Dayton's building. We support Native American artists.
Hey, we got a little different show today. We got Joe Allen, who's going to stop in and talk about his nonprofit arts and how important it is to buy Native artists and how to find what how to figure out if it is a Native artist. And I'm stumbling here, but before we get any further here, why don't we get with Ogama with the news where you don't hear anywhere else. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, Anim Bushu, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuikwe. My name means Strong Golden Eagle Woman, and I am a member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota. I want to first take a minute and say Happy Pride, everybody. June is Pride Month, and it is officially the first day of Pride. So, happy Pride Month to all of our Two Spirit relatives and our LGBTQ2 plus listeners, everybody who falls outside of the normal cis gender, all of those people. I wish we did not have to have a Pride Month, that equality was better for all of you. But while we have it, I am putting up rainbows and I support and love every single one of you. The other thing I want to touch base on today that, we kind of talk about on the show a lot, but I really want to take the time to reiterate it. And Matt McNeil was on just ahead of us interviewing, I believe it was Patty Acom. And Matt McNeil brought up the Line 3 pipeline again, and it's something that has lost its shine in the mainstream media, and we really need to keep talking about it and the things that are coming up for those of us that are still asking for, um, there's Robert, do you remember how many frackouts there were on the Mississippi River?
It was like 200, wasn't it?
I
Wasn't
think
it an unbelievable amount like that?
there was 200 and some water crossings, and I think there was at least 2, maybe 3 frackouts on the Mississippi River that we know of, and that doesn't include frackouts at other places in Minnesota. And so far, Enbridge has not been prosecuted in any way, shape, or form for those issues. And the water is polluted and just, kind of sitting there, and the rest of Minnesota is acting like it's not a problem. And much of that happened before oil even went into the pipeline, and now there's oil pumping through that pipeline, which is literally just a ticking time bomb to damaging our groundwater, further damaging our groundwater, the Mississippi River, and any other watersheds that it crosses, which is over 200. So it's a pretty intense thing that's still happening in Minnesota. And I think people need to remember that just because we're no longer talking about it doesn't mean that it has gone away. So this weekend, there is a Water is Sacred gathering at the Itasca State Park in Park Rapids, Minnesota. People of faith and conscious people are gathering at Mississippi headwaters to honor the waters and affirm Native and Indigenous sovereignty, and also to nurture connections with one another and the Mother Earth, of course. You can register. They do require pre-registration at mnipl.org. That's Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light.org. Honor the Earth is going to be there. It's a weekend long event, including camping. It's going to be great. So if you get some time this weekend and you don't have any plans and you're looking to reconnect with people after, almost a year since Line 3's construction was completed, definitely take the time to do that. Also coming up here is the Shell River Revival gatherings. So there's going to be 3 weekends, June 17th through 19th, July 15th through 17th, and August 26th through 28th of 2022. And that's going to be at the Shell City Campground in Huntersville State Forest near Monaga, Minnesota. There is going to be amazing events happening there. Everybody's going to be camping. There's going to be music. They're going to be talking about the Shell River Alliance and how we can continue to protect the Shell River as well as other water sources in Minnesota due to Enbridge's frackouts, and continuing to monitor those. So that's going to be a really amazing event that's coming up. And then in Wisconsin, coming up here, Saturday, June 25th, is Communities United by Water, and that's going to take place at Bayview City Park in Ashland, Wisconsin. Water protectors are going to meet, organize, sing, dance, play. There's going to be, I believe there's an entire lineup, and you can find it on their social media on the Facebook group, Communities United by Water, or you can find it under, and I may butcher this, it's the Chequamegon Bay celebration? Is that how you say that? Does anybody know? Robert, do you know?
I can't even say the name Joe without messing it up, so don't ask me.
Shake, Shagomegan. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to help me as I'm butchering that. But you can find out more and sign up for that event at communitiesunitedbywater.org. Again, it's on Saturday, June 25th in Bayview City Park in Ashland, Wisconsin. Also happening down south, there is the Gulf South Gathering for Climate Justice and Joy, and that's happening in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that is on the southern end of the Mississippi River. And the people of that group are amazing, and they are working really hard to join together the state of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, and Alabama to celebrate hopeful futures and to develop and strategize processes to work against climate change. And they're talking about the no false promises, which is oil and gas companies have avoided accountability and completely undermined climate action by offering false promises to reduce carbon emissions and using harmful and unproven technologies. So they're doing a bunch of wonderful work down south. I do believe there's a lot of Native and BIPOC people who are involved in that work. That is going to be an awesome event happening this weekend, Saturday, June 4th, down in southern United States, if you're down that way, southern Turtle Island. There is just so much happening this summer, Robert, and I can't even begin to just really put it all together, what all is happening this summer for everybody. We touched base on this with Nancy Bolio a little bit yesterday, but I want to just highlight this again. North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, families across those regions, those three states, have an opportunity through the NDN Collective to take a survey regarding what could happen for the Collective Abundance Fund. So what that is they're taking a survey to help redefine what wealth looks like for Indigenous people and on Indigenous terms. And it's going to help determine how they redistribute nearly $50 million to Native individuals and families across those three states, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. The distributions are going to begin in early 2023, and it's expected to occur over a 4-year period. So this is a really big amount of money that NDN Collective has been tasked with sending out for grants for people. And, you know, Nancy talked about it yesterday, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday too. But you guys, when you take this survey, it's not like a lot of other surveys that you've taken. It's mostly fill in the blank answers. And I think one of the ones that really stuck with me was, what does wealth mean to you? And, for Indigenous people, wealth often means something different than what it does to non-Indigenous people or to colonized people. So it's important that we take that time to let the NDN Collective know what you feel about it. And if you can, take that Indigenous Wealth Survey at ndncollective.org. And that is scrolling across the bottom for anybody who's watching online.
Wow, excellent. Hey, and just to give everyone a shout out too, Ogama, I know this isn't on your radar, but Enda Young's having their powwow in St. Paul at Harriet Island, and hey, Native Roots Trading Post will be there. So we're excited as always to serve our community in the art world. And speaking of which, we're going to have Joe Allen on next, and we're going to talk art and some groovy things. And Joe's a great guy. And so we'll be right back after this short break.
Yeah, the powwow is this weekend. Please stay with us.
Oh.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Are you nervous to go to your mailbox and see one more past due mortgage bill? You could qualify for financial assistance through Home Help MN if you have fallen behind on your mortgage payments due to the pandemic. This Minnesota housing program even has money available to help with other past due mortgage-related expenses. Learn more at homehelpmn.org or call 1-800-388-3226.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, really excited to have Joe Allen on today, and it's that time of year, Joe, and where people are going to powwows and our white relatives are going, and it's time to kind of talk about what's true Native art and what's not, and what to look for. But I also want you to talk about your nonprofit, and I'm just happy to have you on. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I work for the White Earth Tribe, and so and we for their economic development division, and I run the Gizhiigin Arts Incubator in Monoma, Minnesota. With White Earth, it's where the casino is. That's like the biggest town on the reservation, and so and we're getting ready for our 154th annual powwow in White Earth on June 10 through 11. So,
wow. That's a lot of years, and powwows were started to celebrate our Native warriors coming back from battle, and and so it's not a ceremony; it's open to the public, and you see a lot of good dancing and things like that, Joe.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of artists vending their work there. So, and White Earth here, I mean, I don't know how many vendors they have every year, but it's like a big ring of a circle of vendors that selling artwork. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, talk a little bit about, you worked with the Circle. You used to be here in the Twin Cities for a while, and now you've gone work with your tribe and work with artists all over Turtle Island, but specifically your tribe.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in South Minneapolis. I lived and worked for the Circle newspaper back in the 1990s. Yeah, that was quite a while ago. Back when I think there was this new thing called the internet, and just before this Craigslist hadn't happened yet, or was about to happen, and so we were a lot bigger paper back then. There's a lot more papers back then, and so and that's where I got. I was a photographer, and that's where I got into art and covering arts, in the Circle, helping bring that out. And so, then I moved up to White Earth 12 years ago. Yeah. So, I'm a descendant of White Earth, but I'm enrolled at Rosebud. So I'm kind of one of those, I'm Lakota and Ojibwe. So
the best of both worlds there. So, maybe you can talk a little bit about your nonprofit too, and what you do there, because I think that's really exciting and needs to happen. And you could fill in our audience a little bit about the process that you're going through and what you hope to accomplish.
Yeah, well, we started the Gizhiigin started about 7 years ago. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. And so we have a space in Monoman, and people can come and utilize the space that has classroom space and a studio classroom, and then also we have Wi-Fi, and then there's like a gallery kind of meeting space too. And so building this community of artists that will book this facility, and they teach the classes. I just help facilitate it. I don't run everything. It's just more with this community of artists doing things. And so that's what I've tried to do. And then I also help them with their careers, connecting them to opportunities. Right now, one of the big things that we're launching is in partnership with Red Lake and Leech Lake up here in Bemidji in July. And I should remember the dates, but the Anishinaabe Art Expo. And so that will happen, our art festival, sorry. Expo was back in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And so the Ojibwe Art Expo used to be back, but so we're launching a new one, and it's called Anishinaabe Art Festival. Be at the Sanford Center in Bemidji. I think it's that July. I got to look at my calendar, but and so this is right now we have about 50 vendors lined up, artist vendors, and it's all from all over the country, but Native American artists. Mainly from northern Minnesota and a few from the cities, and I don't think we're getting too many from out of the state yet, but a couple from Wisconsin, I think, and North Dakota. So
Yeah, that's exciting. Maybe you can explain because we have a lot of different people listening to the show all over Turtle Island, and we have a lot of supporters, white supporters, and maybe they're afraid to buy things or can we break that down a little bit? Because I've always taught our family to ask who the artist is, when you're buying something at a powwow or at a store.
yeah, and I think that's what I strive to uplift as artists, selling their own work and owning, and not just reselling it to people buy work. That's a good that's done, but I like to see artists selling their own work at a powwow or at a art fair. And so that's what I try to help them do. Other or else help them learn how to wholesale items and get things, and not just selling their beadwork at what they think, and then someone marks up the price. I think that's kind of the standard. And how do we get out of that system and create systems that are regenerative and help the artists and work together collectively? So those are the things that I'm trying to start with the incubator and in the community here in White Earth, and hopefully we can bring this model to other, share it with other tribes and other communities that are similar to us, living in rural reservation communities. How do you help artists make money? So
Right. And what I like to say too is that for our store in which, you've really helped us bring native artists into our store downtown Minneapolis. But what I like to say is like, to tell the story of, this person made a lot of money, and then, and it's hard to be an artist and hard to promote your stuff at the same time. And maybe a $250 painting she sells for $15 because they need formula. We want to get away from things like that, right, Joe?
yeah, I see it, a lot of, my mom was a powwow vendor. That's how I grew up doing beadwork for her. And I always saw people selling things just to get gas money home, or pay the light bill, or that's kind of like you're able to do that, and it wasn't, you're not just, you felt like you're paying your way, but you're just surviving. And so how do we
Mhm.
get artists that can make what they should be making, from their art, and not just selling, because a lot of when rural communities are, the only people we can sell to are the other, poor people in our community. And so, how do we get out of this, get connected to these larger audiences, larger markets? And so that was, the opportunity I saw with the Native Trading Post down in Minneapolis, and connecting rural artists to a larger market. And it's all about location, in terms of retail sales, or art sales. If you don't have
Mhm.
foot traffic, or or have the marketing to get your website going or your e-commerce site, it's really hard.
Yeah, and the capacity too, because as we know, and you help with the artists is to buy bulk. You can buy bulk. It's cheaper. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm a photographer, and so at least I always work with print, so it's always a reproduction. So I learned that side of the business, where you learn how to you create the image, but you're selling a reproduction. And so I can try to help a lot of artists do that. A lot of especially visual artists that I work with, painters, and even people that make quilts, or beadwork, helping them to make prints of their, like cards or magnets or,
Right.
or coffee cups or whatever, that is they think they can sell. So,
Right. But it's important too because, they're to do that balancing act of artist and entrepreneur, and that's where you kind of bridge the gap, right?
yeah. And I think that's where I think that the big gap is because, the art world and just like other business, but I think artists especially you're always on your own, like the model is you have to be this entrepreneur, you have to do your own social media, or you have to make enough money to pay somebody to do that. And most artists can barely pay their own bills. They have the day job. And so that's the thing that I look at is like when I'm working with artists and they quit their day job, and then they're full-time artists, that to me is like where the success of what I see that can happen, with these programs that will support artists to get there, and where they can make a living and pay their bills with their art. So
Absolutely. Looks like Ogama found the date of your Bemidji thing on July 22nd and 23rd.
yeah, so it'll be a Friday afternoon. There'll be events, we'll have a MC hosting. We'll have some fashion and some rap music and drum music, and then the market will be up, and then Saturday there will be all day market too with artist demonstrations, traditional artists. And so yeah, I come up, it's we're try to launch this year and keep it going. I think that's something that you look at what Santa Fe and Phoenix and those markets. Minnesota should be able to have something like that, I think. And the native population in Minnesota, most of us live up here. About half of us live in north of the cities, so the
Yeah.
other half lives in the cities. So,
Hey,
so it's a big market.
Do you have time, Joe, for another quick segment here? We can finish up on this in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Are you nervous to go to your mailbox and see one more past due mortgage bill? You could qualify for financial assistance through Home Help MN if you have fallen behind on your mortgage payments due to the pandemic. This Minnesota housing program even has money available to help with other past due mortgage-related expenses. Learn more at homehelpmn.org or call 1-800-388-3226.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. We'll expose all the latest schemes, frauds, and more weeknights at 7 on AM 950.
Hi, this is Evelyn. Dad, do I need to read this next line?
Do you want me to start dancing on the tickety talk?
Okay, fine. My dad is the one and only Mr. Minnesota, Matt McNeil.
Not an official title.
You're telling me. One thing my dad and I both agree on is Toyota Siennas are great vehicles. I drive one all the time, and it has the same safety and reliability of my dad's Sienna. It's fun to drive, perfect for summer fun with friends.
Test drive a Toyota Sienna at the best Toyota dealer in Minnesota, Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Electricity costs have hit historic highs, and they're likely to continue rising with no end in sight. If you own a business, those are costs that are eating away at your bottom line. But switching to All Energy Solar can help you see green instead of red. A system from All Energy Solar offers a bankable investment with energy costs that won't rise along with fossil fuels. So stop renting your energy from the utility company, because the rent keeps going up. Solar tax incentives are strong, returning up to 60% of your investment. But those credits will decrease in 2023. And with more businesses switching to solar, capacity is limited. That's why reserving your spot on the grid now has never been more critical. All Energy Solar has the experience of installing over 6,000 systems for all sorts of properties in the Midwest and beyond. Get a free no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists today by calling 800-620-3370 or visiting allenergysolar.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Overnight clouds give way to clear skies with a low of 51. Clouds move back in on Thursday with a high of 74. Crooners is back after an exciting renovation featuring a new dining room, the brand new Maggie's Lounge, and expanded main stage seating. That's Crooner Supper Club, just north of 694 off Highway 65 in Fridley. More at croonersmn.com.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gizhiigin. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Old.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, wow, thanks, Wendy. Hey, we're here with Joe Allen, and we're just finishing up here. But Joe, I just really, the work that you do, and I've seen you in action, and the care that you have for your community is just commendable. And I just wanted to say that on radio here, so people hear that. But yeah, I mean, my short time working with you, which it was funny. We were saying when you were helping us with the store, Native Roots Trading Post in downtown Minneapolis. He said, "Yeah, we've been working together for 5 months," and it was like that was a few months ago, and I was like, "What? 5 months ago? That's almost a half a year." But just really, what you do for the community, I really appreciate it, and for us.
Yeah, I just to think about it too is I don't think we would have met if it hadn't been for the pandemic, that we learned how to meet virtually, and network that way. I think it would have taken us a lot longer to meet. And for me to try to travel down to Minneapolis, or I don't think you want to come with the White Earth that much, but
The store would have been half full, that's for sure, if we wouldn't have met. And it's funny, you were on Native Roots Radio and David Knoyer was hosting. So
yeah. I know David back from when he was a journalist. He was on KARE 11, I think, down in Minneapolis markets. So
yeah, definitely. It's a small community, and it's a strong community, and there's a lot of great artists. Who can you think of off the top of your head that people should be looking for here locally in the Twin Cities and the 5-state area?
Yeah, I know the one. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, and he's a White Earth artist, Frank Big Bear. And he's kind of if you go Bockley Gallery, sometimes that he represents. He's over by Birch Bark Books, Todd Bulkley. But Frank Big Bear is like the one artist that and then anything by Jim Denham, a friend of mine, just passed away, Jim Denhamy. I have a painting right behind me that I traded him. So he's, seeing his stuff. I think there's a show up right now somewhere in Stillwater or around the metro area that was planned before he, passed away. And so those are, I know Jim when he was starting out at, when I was at the Indian Center, at the Circle, he was still in college and his mom worked there. And so those are the two artists the visual artists that kind of, that are still, their work is still out there. And then, all my relation arts on Franklin Avenue, that's, I started working with them back when it was called Ancient Traders Arts, and they were across the street. They were over by Maria's Cafe on Franklin Avenue there. And then when I moved up to Minneapolis is when they switched over to the location they're at now. So I was working with, Heidrich and the advisory council to start to kind of change that name and launch all my relation arts. And so that they're having an exhibit now. I think they always have exhibits. So that's another place you can go see native art. And it's all my relation art. I mean, you have Robert Lilligren on all the time, I think.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
Yeah, those are and I think the Indian Center is going under renovation now. And so,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I think those are some, and then Angela Two Stars, if you go to the sculpture garden, she has a piece there now. And so she's director at All My Relations. So I don't know, that's, some of the people that, inspired me, going back to George Morrison, and, I was privileged to meet him, before he passed away in 1999. I think I met him at his studio or his home up in Grand Portage. And so he was a really, and they just released the stamps, I think it was in April, the U.S. Post Office, releases. So, yeah, he was one of the artists that really inspired me when I was starting out. Because not saying because he would say that he's a artist who happens to be native, and and as a native person who is an artist. And being a photographer, it's like photography is not seen as like this traditional native art, and so, and, and so that was kind of an inspiration to me from. So those are all guys. I guess I got to put some women.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But you have some artists too that are in our store that are
Yeah, so one of the artists right now that's he's really launched is Ken Esty, and he's from Netawash here in Minnesota, and his comes from this really his father and his grandmother were black ash basket makers, and his brother just passed away. But so Kent is a contemporary artist. He does contemporary paintings, but he's Native American. He's white earth and rolly. So yeah, so he has pieces there. He's at a piece in New York Mills. He just had a show at Grand Rapids at the McRosty Art Center. And he'll be one of the vending artists, selling artists at the Anishinaabe Art Festival. So if you want to see his work there too. So he's getting all over the place. So
Yeah, that's exciting. So I'm going to let you go, but I want to have you just bring up again your art fair on July 22nd through the 23rd up in Bemidji. Just give a quick shout out to our listeners again.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, and there's a web page, and so we'll be pushing out more advertisements, and so maybe we'll come back on and advertise here. So.
Yeah, definitely would love to have you on. And I know TJ, who works with you, your PR guy, is a phenomenal photographer also.
Yeah, he's great. It's good to be working with young people. So
yeah. Exactly. Well, Joe, thanks for stopping in, and I really appreciate it. I know you're really busy, and I appreciate you stopping in and chatting with us for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, good to see you guys.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much. he gave the wave right there. I just that was just awesome, and the work Joe does is just is crazy. It's so needed, you guys. Wendy and Ogama. I just got to tell you guys a quick story. I know we only have a couple minutes before we get into a commercial break, and then Wendy's segment, our sacred animal section, which is all our relations with hooves and tails and wings and all those groovy things. But I had the opportunity today, you guys, to talk to the crew from Rutherford Falls, and we'll be the TV show, and I was really excited to talk with them and interview them. And it's funny, Wendy and Ogama, I got a little emotional too because of how they represent themselves in a good way.
Are they on Hulu? Which network
They're
is?
they're Paramount.
Oh,
They're on
Paramount.
Paramount.
Okay.
That'll be coming up soon. Their second season, I've got to see the screeners myself, but the second season is not for another at the end of the month. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll be playing those interviews, and I'll be doing my impersonation of going, oh, that's so cool, it's just being a big fan, going, oh yeah, gosh. So being enamored with them, and a lot of really good insight too. But I won't give away the interview, but I'm really excited. And what was interesting too, I think it's really weird how, in a good way, how a lot of the actors are on Reservation Dogs that are on that show too.
Rutherford Falls. Yeah.
Right, Wendy. And Bobby Wilson, who's been on our show a bunch of times, he's really got a more prominent role here this second season on Rutherford Falls. And I won't give it away, but Dallas Goldtooth is on the show too. So it's a big crossover, and it's really exciting. And I told him it was exciting to, like I always tell our lieutenant governor and our politicians and our actors that are Native, it's important for our young people to see people that look like them, that are doing well or doing something in a good way like this, and just to so they can recognize themselves in these people, Wendy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. If everybody out there should check out Rutherford Falls, it's a really great uh, series, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing the next season.
Yeah, definitely. Ogama, what's your thoughts there?
I'm really looking forward to seeing the next season myself, and it just blows me away how important, like you were talking about how you get emotional, and it blows me away how important this type of media is, and that us Native people see our likeness on TV, and my daughter's going to grow up with Native people on TV. It's going to be great.
Hmm. And
Wow.
the native people in good content,
Yes.
not cowboys and Indians, or like they gave terrible images of Native American people years ago, and this
Oh
is
yeah.
just the opposite. So it's
Disney's
beautiful.
Peter Pan was pretty bad. I remember
Mhm.
watching that one when I was a child. I think that was probably my first feeling of being offended as a
Mhm.
child, was watching that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good point, Wendy. And there was a lot of uh, people that portrayed Native Americans that weren't even Native Americans, and they were portrayed as savages. And there's a really good documentary that came out about 12 years ago. I don't know where you can find it now, but it's on one of the called Real Indians, and it's IJUNS, and it talks about the history of film, and how really John Ford, the director of all those westerns with John Wayne, really made us characters, and not a good way. So that's out there. Reels, REELZ engines. If you have a chance to see that, it really gives you a lot of history of what happened to us, and why people think that we're dinosaurs and we're not people, and we're not human, and we're not here, because of the way we've been portrayed, like Wendy said, over the movies. And so it was really good to have Joe Allen on. I'm still, a little giddy and on cloud nine from the interviews today that we'll be able to play later in the month, and on this great show, and these good people in a good way. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back with Wendy's segment on our sacred animals.
Stay with us.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minneapolis Public Schools wants to hire you. They have a variety of positions to start your career. You can work in the classroom as a teacher or classroom support, or work outside the classroom as a bus driver, in the culinary wellness department to help prepare nutritious meals, or keeping the building safe and sanitized as a custodian. Bilingual, bicultural candidates encouraged to apply. Start your career in education and apply today at jobs.minneapolis.k12.mn.us.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Good howl there, Ogama. Good to have you back. Hey, I want to introduce my awesome and beautiful wife, Wendy Pilot. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and she works hard on these animal issues. And I learned so much from her segments that she's been doing for 5 years on Native Roots Radio. So, Wendy, take it away.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. My name is Gizhiigin. That means cares for them, and I was given that name by my Dega, Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. And he's my Tega, which we pronounce Dega. It's Tega, which means uncle in Ho-Chunk. And I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level, and it's always my pleasure to do that. What I have here today is I'm really excited to talk about this is the first quarter report of 2022 for the Humane Society of the United States and some of the work that they've done so far in the first quarter. I just want to remind everything that the Humane Society of the United States is one of the largest animal advocacy organizations in the United States and worldwide. We do not adopt animals out. We have nothing to do with adopting little kitties and dogs and other animals out. We don't do that. We do work with shelters in times of crisis and in need. And our main goal is to set policy and to change laws that help animals. So I know sometimes people will, message me and be like, "Oh, Wendy, I know that you work in rescue, and can you help me find a cat?" And stuff like that. So I have to kind of look up. I kind of have to look up shelters in their area and kind of, guide people to do that. That was a picture, if you're watching us on Facebook, of our little dog Wanda. Who I love and miss very much. But I have a the president's letter of the Humane Society of the United States. Her name is Kitty Block, and she is the president and CEO of the Humane Society of the United States. And here is one of her quotes: "As animal welfare advocates, we work to keep pets and their families together in a time of war. That work takes on added urgency." And I really am very, very proud of the work that HSUS has done concerning the war in Ukraine. They're working with staff in Europe and members of their animal rescue team. And they're teaming up with local organizations to distribute pet food and supplies to Ukrainian refugees escaping the war zone. They've helped launch Vets for Ukrainian Pets, and it's a program that will make free veterinarian treatment available to refugees' pets throughout Europe. Pets We all know that our pets offer us companionship and love, and it kind of gives us and the refugees a taste of normal life. As animal advocacy welfare advocates, they work to keep pets and their families together, and I'm very proud that they are doing that. There are lots of people on the ground doing that work, and they are also in dangerous parts of Ukraine, helping people and their pets to get out to safety. So I want to say this. I'm not going to be able to get to all of the wonderful things that HSUS has done, but I'm just going to touch on a few. They continue to take aim at puppy mills, and that's something that I've talked about so many times on the radio show. Those inhumane breeding facilities that value profit over the health and safety of the dogs. Cities and localities around the United States are putting the squeeze on the callous industry by passing ordinances that HSUS has drafted to prohibit the sale of puppy mill dogs in pet stores. And like I said, this is a really important issue for Robert and I, as one of our dogs, Gracie, she's a little white Maltese, was a breeder dog in a puppy mill and spent seven years of her life there, just pumping out puppies that were sold in pet stores and on the internet and elsewhere. After 7 years, when she couldn't breed dogs anymore, she was auctioned off for $35. A rescue organization did get her, and we've had her for 5 years. And I want to just say this. I don't think I said this on the radio yet, but Robert, just recently, when we come home, Gracie is greeting us with a happy face and a smile, and jumping back and forth to Robert and I. And this is just recently that she's done this, and we've had her for 5 years. So these dogs who spend half their lives in a cage and never have human contact take a really long, long time to fit in the home life. But it was so cute to see her jumping back and forth between you and I, that she was genuinely really happy to see us both. So kind of brought tears to our eyes. Another really important thing that HSUS has been doing is that they're improving the lives of animals in the food industry, and it remains one of their top priorities to do this. I mean, I know, like any of the food that I eat, although I don't eat animals, if people eat animals, so you want them to at least have a decent life and not to be tortured before they die. One thing is the U.S. egg industry is rapidly increasing its output of cage-free eggs, meaning fewer hens are suffering in tiny cages, and restaurant chains are pledging to hit their cage-free goals sooner than planned. The other thing that I'm really excited to talk about is the ending of animal cosmetic testing. Now, these animals, are tests all different kinds of products, shampoos and mascara, eyeshadows, and more and more really big companies like CoverGirl, L'Oreal, Revlon, they are really coming around because they know that people want to buy cruelty-free products. So I'm really excited about the work that HSUS is doing in combating the cosmetic industry and putting animals towards that. And I always talk about a free app that you could buy for your iPhone or Android. It's called Cruelty Cutter, and it's a free app, and you can put it on your phone, and then you could scan the barcodes of items, mostly cosmetics, to see if the products, the shampoo that you're buying, the deodorant, the mascara that you're putting on your eyes is cruelty free. So a lot of times I'll be in the drugstore and I'll be scanning the products, and sometimes the workers will say, like, what do workers in the store will say, what are you doing? What are you scanning? And I'll tell them what I'm doing. And they're really quite surprised that animals are still tested on in cosmetics. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We've been
Cruelty Cutter.
surprised, Wendy, on companies that we thought did that and didn't.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's always a good, pleasant surprise with that
Mhm.
app, that free app you have on your phone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Always checking
pleasure.
in a good way. Yeah. And Gigi to Ogama and Joe Allen for being on today. It's been a great show. Busy day for everyone. Everyone keep their chin up, and that's all. I'd like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground in which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster